wasn't sick. I'll never have a problem with that. Never been seasick. But a lot of people, women, was bad weather, small bout, and they all were 35, 36 days. They were sick as soon as they come on the boat. Till they come in the Fremantle. I don't know how they survived, how they didn't die, because they didn't eat. They've been sick from day to day. All restaurant and all that, most of the time was empty, and more than 1,000 people was on a small boat.
When my dad knew a bloke in Broken Hill, and he made us English naturalised before we got here, because the price of the fare was half price by doing that. And if you go and inquire at the immigration, they won't find me under Yugoslavia. That was the country where we came from. It's England.
Yeah, 14 years I think I was. The Gestapo take me from home. Beside somebody in the street, the Gestapo, everyone take it. Some family know you and don't know you where you go. The Gestapo take it and pension and take to Germany. And they take me, I come to Germany 42 years. Only every time my mother write me letter, we write to home. She say, why are you not coming home? Why are you not? Because other people, other girl, the Gestapo take us, they go through the window and train and run away and go home. And my mother say, why are you not coming? No, but the girl coming, you never coming. Because they're scared, many kill, we go after train, This is not a good train, but cattle tracks.
My father came out here when I was 10 months old, and my mother stayed over there until I was 7 years old. I saw my father. I knew him by photo.
In 5 days, I think we travelled from Brisbane up to Mount Isa. Had to change up at Townsville and then go across. All I remember, I used to say to my father, he met us in Brisbane, what's our house like? You'll wait and see. And then as we were going through the country, and there'd be shanties, and I'll say to Dad, is there anything like that? No, it's worse than that. So anyhow, when we arrived in Mount Isa, and my mother said, oh my God, my brother pig's pens was better than this one. It was made out of galvanised iron, out of drums and things, and that was the house.
When I arrived out here and found that my father was living in a tent, because in the bush you had to, when you cut one bush, you had to be moved to another lot of trees suitable for sleeper cutting. So living under those conditions, surrounded with kangaroos and emus and whatnot, and that was a quite nice sight anyway. That was a place called Manjimop, southwest of Perth.
My dad would go all over Victoria digging potatoes, from Mildura to whatever, and his home was a tent and a suitcase. That was his home.
We had road mailbox number 1 on Bringelly Road, and it was called Preston's because across the road from where we lived there was a very old house which used to be the post office, owned by Mrs. Preston. It's the Covenco Road. It had just been macadamised when we came, and I think people used to say, oh, we're going to Preston's, meet Mrs. Preston's, and they called the whole place Preston's.
When I came from Queensland in 1946, I stayed at Austral at the Relation Place in 9th Avenue, and then bought this in 1947. It was all bush. It was 2 blocks when I bought them with Dad together from Mr. Colombo Parish.
We were able to move on to a bigger farm in Green Valley Road. Of course, the war started, and then we grew tomatoes and cabbages, beans, onions and things like that for the army, for the armed forces under contract. And that we did for a number of years until the war finished, and then we started growing for ourselves and the city markets.
Typical life was this every day of the week. Sunday we had off. You get up in the morning at 5 o'clock, you'd go up the farm, whether it was picking, tying up tomatoes, chipping the grass, whatever it was to do. And there was not much water those days around, so the water pressure was very, very low. So then at 9 o'clock at night, my sister and I will go up there every second night and water tomatoes till 2 o'clock in the morning.
We learned it from the Yugoslav people. They always had lovely tomatoes. But then Dad was the first Italian to go into Leppington. He had 2 children to look after and a wife. We bought a horse, and then as he went ahead, he made money. But he had good tomatoes too. So much so that during the war, people would go at night and pinch his tomatoes. They'd go in the middle of the rows with sacks, chalk bags they used to call them, and steal them. And our carrier told my father, he said, "Guido, your tomatoes are being sold with somebody else's name on them."
Across the road in the carnation, I was budding the carnation. When they grow carnation, it will come a lot of buds. So we have to take all the buds, throw it down on the floor, and leave the single one. I needed it, and I enjoyed it. And I was working with another woman with me. We used to play the radio in this carnation and talk together, and the time go by. And getting burned from the sun used to hit on this side all the time. To us, it was something big. You know, she was like a mother to me and everything, a sister and a mother and a friend. She was.
Many occasions I would see my grandfather or my father being totally distraught as a result of a hailstorm coming over the top. And in one occasion, I was probably around the ages of 12 or 13, I can remember my grandfather actually losing it. He had this crop ready, the market was at its best price. Hail came across and just wiped it out completely. And during the hailstorm, he went outside, picked up anything that he could find and started throwing it back at the sky. And it was landing on the shed, the packing shed. And he was just swearing in Yugoslav, just absolutely beside himself. And I was quite distraught because I could feel his anger and his disappointment. But then I can remember him, they all sat around, had a cup of tea, a glass of wine. Next morning they got up, started working again and knocked the tomatoes down and replanted them.
Later on, my father bought a truck and he used to go himself, to the market. And I used to have a day off school and go and help him sometimes. I didn't like going to school that much. If you didn't tip the fella that looks after the stands, he'd put you in the wrong place. He'd put you where the flowers are instead of where the tomatoes were. You had to you had to tip them.
He'd have this, like I said, very primitive ripening room. It was a small room, probably, 8 metres by 8 metres, and it was a cavity wall, and for insulation to save the heat getting out, my father filled the cavity with sawdust. And he had a small heater burning in the room. And I remember one day the heater was blowing a lot of black smoke off. So next morning we come in, the tomatoes were ripe all right, but all black too. So we had to wipe off all the soot of every tomato before we could pack them.
Father said he heard about we could get all these cauliflower leaves down there. He used to feed his cows when he used to grow cauliflowers and cabbage leaves. So he said, "This is a good idea, why don't we feed the cows?" We did. Here you park the truck, And when they were selling the cauliflowers, they used to drop all the leaves off on the side of their trucks, and we used to go in between the trucks and load them on the truck and help the market keep it clean. So it was a hard job, but it was well rewarding because we used to get the feed for nothing, only to drive in and drive out. I did that for very many years until we bought out here. Then when we bought out here, this is a larger farm, we started growing our own feed, and then we were right.
When they were on the ground, we used to grow green feed, like oats and things like that, and we used to feed them wet feed in the morning. We had a mixer and a chaff cutter and a grinder, and we used to have to chaff, mix the feed up and the green in with the wet feed, and we'd go along and feed them in the morning. And then they had hoppers inside the sheds, but we used to fill up, with dry feed, and that used to keep falling as they ate it. And in the afternoon we used to throw wheat in there, and they'd scratch around and eat the wheat,
I came here, I bought there first, and I saw the business not bad. I can make $1, profit. I can bring somebody work with me. I start by the quota, I had around 15,000 quota. I bought them. Anyway, and I start going for right.
Rooster, no egg. Meat chicken, yeah. 25,000, but sometime or winter time they give us a little bit more. I grow Foingham, Taibotok, Bayada. Who give you more money? You go him, That's it. And after 12 weeks, then you go another one.
Well, we had chickens from Ingham's. We get them day old. And this first big shed here where the cars are now, that was with incubators and all. We had them lights with lamps under. And we grow them up. And once they grow certain age, then we take them there to separate them, And they grow for, I think, 3 months we keep them. In 12 weeks with the stuff, and sometimes they used to put something like a pill in the back of the head, and my God, they go, like they lose their voice, not the squeaky one, and heavy, but like fetish, and I didn't like it.
I look after the kids, I give them the breakfast, I dress them. Then about, say, 10 o'clock or 10:30, I get out, pick up eggs and start packing them. I get inside, I feed the kids, and that's what I do. And when they're very little, I used to have like a wireless. The wire outside, if they cry, I can hear them.
The white one, so nice. Hey, yeah, Maria picky for you. Maria picky for you. Don't worry. This one's so beautiful. Look this one, pretty one. I'll picky fresh off down, put that. I'll picky for you, nice one. Here you are, darling boy. After you tell me, Maria, give me nice flesh. All right, Maria carry for you. Why not? Look at your flares.
Well, he was an ice manufacturer. In those days, before our households had refrigeration, he subsequently built another ice works at Ingleburn, and we would have trucks, we had about 13 3-ton odd trucks to deliver ice every day all in the district. I've served ice in Austral in the back of in a jeep and trailer. I've served ice in Hargrove Park in a jeep and trailer. In Austral it was necessary because the roads weren't formed. We drove down between the trees in the mud to deliver people ice because there was no sewer roads.
He brought her home and to Cabramatta, and that was on a Thursday. It was the 23rd of March 1939, and being a Thursday. Then Friday they went into the city and they went to Anthony Horden's. They bought her a bridal dress. Saturday they got married. There was no honeymoon. They just went to pick tomatoes the next day, Sunday.
Him and a friend, Tony Tulich, they went to Broken Hill to find themselves a wife. In those days it was nothing so uncomplicated or complicated, whichever way you like to put it. So he said, and the woman that they went after, because they were the age groups between it, she had already a boyfriend. So he said, don't worry about it, I've got a nice girl in North Queensland, he said, I'll introduce you. And so he followed, they two followed up to North Queensland and we met, we cared for each other.
My parents said I'd find it easier to marry a good woman I was sitting here. So then we both went over there and got married and come back. My brother went first and then I went in 1949. I brought the wife out, still in North Queensland. Soon after that, 1952, we bought the picture show and come down here, Cabramatta.
Well, they lived across the road on a chicken farm. They had laying eggs, and I was 2 when I met him. He was 5, and I just liked him from when I was tiny. Well, I was about 15 and he was 18 then, and we started going out, and we were engaged when I was 18, married at 21, and that was it.
The craft we was used with chisel, hammer, and small chisel, big chisel, and pick, and some other stuff. When I start, the machine come one by one. But when I start, was no machine. Only was compressor, big compressor, things like that. But even before compressor come, we was dig up hole in a rock, then you break in pieces, which is very, very interesting and very heavy too.
I believe just before we bought it, people by the name of Alec Northey owned it, and they had the auction there, and there was so many fleas there at the time that you couldn't see the auctioneer's collar for the fleas that was on the collar before we bought the place. Everybody always remarked about that. So my dad had to get a lend of £100 off his brother that had a newsagent at Randwick to buy the house because he was in the Depression and he had been a butcher in Liverpool at Ashcross Butchery.
I had a good friend of mine, he built his own house, to give it to a contractor. I said, I'll never pay it off. So it was this Scotch man that he lived next door to us in Wedrill Park. He said, you young man, go to the shop, buy yourself a saw and 2 hammers, one in each hand. In 1962, the land around Leppington would be in about £1,800 for 5 acres, give and take a little. Then I built this house in here, and we moved up here.
We used to come out here to Leppington or out, a lot of them lived at Canley Vale at the time, at Cabramatta. We used to go to Narrabeen, Worrywood especially, and visit all. We were a very close-knit community. They had the clubs in Sydney. They'd go down there, they'd meet there, and then when they could get away, they'd sort of go and visit each other. It was a day out. It was wonderful. Really terrific days out.